You're watching The World Now. The two candidates in the U.S. presidential election at Tuesday's debate clashed on key issues ranging from abortion rights to immigration, as both heavyweights sought to sway voters in a tightly contested race. What does this mean for both parties' campaign ahead of November, even as the U.S. honors the nearly 3,000 lives lost during the September 11, 2001 attack on American soil? We have details in this report.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump faced off in the first and potentially only debates ahead of the November election.
Republicans who have formally worked with President
Trump started the debate relatively reserved compared to his frenetic campaign rally persona. However, his demeanor turned angry as Harris needled him on several issues, including his legal troubles, rally crowd sizes, and policy flip-flops.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason?
Immediately after the debate, the Harris campaign said she is ready for another face-off with the Republican nominee. But Trump will not commit to one in a post-debate interview. Tuesday's debate was expected to center on defining Kamala Harris. Instead, with words and with body language, she turned it into a referendum on Donald Trump.
I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the Republic, would never survive another Trump term.
In answer after answer, the former president reminded Americans of his role in so much of what many will rather forget: the deadly and devastating pandemic, his refusal to accept the result of the 2020 election, a bloody siege on the U.S. Capitol, and the fall of Roe v. Wade.
I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something, I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words, so I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
And we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
Registered voters who watched Tuesday's presidential debate broadly agree that Kamala Harris outperformed Donald Trump. The vice president also outpaced both debate watchers' expectation for her and Joe Biden's on-stage performance against the former president early this year. Debate watchers say 63 to 37% that Harris turned in a better performance on stage in Philadelphia prior to the debate. The same voters were evenly split on which candidate will perform more strongly, with 50% saying Harris will do so and another 50% saying that Trump would.
Home buyers. That's
The views of each candidate's strength on the issues continue to reflect the dynamic seen in national polling, with Trump holding an advantage on the economy, immigration, and being commander-in-chief, and Harris more frustrated and Harris more trusted on abortion and protecting democracy.
Well, let's talk about this interesting debate for a few minutes. President Emeritus, Corporate Council on Africa, Stephen Hayes, joins me on the news of this hour. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Hayes. Opinion polls suggest that VP Harris won the debate, but Mr. Trump claims that she lost badly, saying that moderators were unfair to him. What's your opinion about what transpired?
Well, I watched the debate in its entirety, and then I watched the tape as well on this. And by the way, thank you for having me on. I think even President Trump knows he did poorly. Fox News, his base of support, has said he did poorly. And I have read nothing else from many others that he actually came close to winning this. I think I went into it thinking that he probably would win the debate because of the vice president's inexperience in this, and I think that she changed a lot of minds and certainly changed some of my opinions as well by being very calm, very factual, and very genuine. Unfortunately, the former president reacted emotionally many times, and you wonder, is this the emotions that are going to be in the president? If so, it's going to be very dangerous, and I think that's what a lot of people saw last night. It has been said that it was as disastrous for Trump in this debate as it was for Biden in the debate with Trump. I don't think it's quite that bad. I think there were good points made on both sides, but I don't think there's any doubt, regardless of your political persuasion, who won that debate. Trump, of course, will say he did because that's Donald Trump.
Precisely how do you think debate performances of Vice President Harris or former President Trump will impact directly on undecided voters and swing states? What factors do you consider really crucial in determining who wins this election?
I think that debate last night was probably one of the more important presidential debates that we've had in a long time. I think a lot of people, like myself, were curious to see how Kamala Harris would perform. She performed very well. I think this election is going to be determined by those in the middle, and I think those in the middle were watching that debate last night. So I think it's going to help her. However, I do think it's going to be an extremely close election. Donald Trump has his base. It's not going to change no matter what the facts are. He also has very strong emotional arguments that are made, unfortunately for him, and those emotional arguments are made overly emotionally. But I think it's this. I don't think there's any doubt this debate helped Harris quite a bit. It helped her be known better. Her composure was exceptional. I wasn't expecting her to be so strong. She was. I think she deserves to be a presidential candidate beyond any doubt.
Well, the debate no doubt highlighted stark differences between the candidates' policies and vision for America. Plus, we saw a lot of personal attacks in the mix. But what do you consider, or what do you believe will resonate with voters? What issues do you think will potentially sway the election's outcome?
Well, I think the abortion issue will affect a lot of women, not because a lot of women want abortions or necessarily even pro-abortion, but the right of a woman to her own body. President Trump vacillated on that, so I think the women's vote right now will probably be much more strongly weighed for Harris. I think that the economy is going to be a big issue. And I think that's the one issue that Harris is going to have to continue to sell and hit at. The immigration will be another issue. But again, the remarks that were made by former President Trump were outrageous. the immigrants to this country have made the difference in this country being far, far more positive and far more effective economically. Yes, there are some immigrants who have not done well and have done poorly to others. But by and large, the millions of immigrants that come here, be they from Nigeria, Mexico, South America primarily, some from China, have made an enormous positive difference to this country. And to divide this country along race, along nationalities, I think is going to be very, very damaging. But the president has created fear of immigrants, exaggerated greatly the crime that has come. Crime comes with anybody, whether they're an immigrant or not. And so I think that's going to be the other key issue to this election.
What about the message you think this debate had sent into international leaders and global markets about the direction of the U.S. foreign policy and economic priorities, regardless of who wins the presidency?
I think that it's a very, very good question. I think that's a critical issue that so far the markets, particularly Goldman Sachs, the vice president was right on that. Goldman Sachs has come out in favor of Vice President Harris. I think the markets will be encouraged more by what they saw in the vice president. I expect them to go up. I think they probably were more discouraged, even those prone to support Trump, by his emotional attacks, his unwillingness to let things go of the past that frankly were inaccurate. So, and I do think for sure, because I travel internationally as well a lot, or have done so, I think foreign leaders are going to be much more encouraged by the performance of the vice president.
So they say VP Harris is slightly ahead in national opinion polls. Time will tell how these polls if these polls accurately predict what really happens on election day. But I'd like us to look at how all of this tie up with the 9/11 anniversary, because U.S. President Joe Biden, VP Kamala Harris, and former President Donald Trump are now moved on hours after, slightly beyond the political hostilities, to commemorate September 11 attacks. In what ways do you think this anniversary serve as a catalyst for bridging partisan divides at a time like this?
I don't think the anniversary will divide people. I think it's one of the few things that still brings people together more than not. I think President Biden will play it very solemnly, as he should, and I think probably feels. I think the Vice President should too. Whether Donald Trump will use it try to use it to any political advantage, I don't know. I hope not. It's hard for him to control himself. So I think that that's not going to be a factor in the election. What will be a factor again are foreign policy, immigration, abortion, and so forth. And the economy.
Mr. Hayes, in the past, candidates in active campaigning have traditionally avoided politics on the anniversary of the attack, seeing how hostile and toxic this campaign has been. Do you see that change in a few hours?
No, I don't. I think those who are going to vote for Trump are very fixed in their positions. I think those that are voting for Harris are pretty much fixed as well. I think it's going to be all determined in the middle ground. The middle ground is going to be determined by the middle class and the undecided voters. Things like 9/11 are not going to be a factor. You've got to remember a lot of the young vote were just barely alive, barely have born when 9/11 occurred. So it's going to be, I think, though the economy and immigration and abortion and foreign policy will be the four areas, perhaps in that order.
Stephen Hayes is President Emeritus, Corporate Council in Africa. Thank you so much for talking to us on the news this hour.
Thank you, and my honor as usual. Thank you.